The sun rises. Another day begins. But before you check your phone, before you let the world tell you who to be, you have a choice, a single, silent moment where your mind is still yours, where possibility lives in silence. Words are not just sounds. They are seeds. They are the architects building the house you live in. Marcus Aurelius knew this. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." He knew the battle is won or lost in the theater of the mind. You are the architect of your own internal architecture. If the walls are crumbling, look at the blueprints you drew. This morning, most people wake up and surrender. They reach for their phones. They let fear speak. They let comparison speak. They give away their morning. They give away their day. They give away their life. You are feeding your soul with digital waste before you have even breathed your own purpose. Science calls it neuroplasticity. I call it rewiring. Your thoughts create neural highways. Repeat them, and they become your reality. Make the first meal of your consciousness powerful. Today, 5 words, not spells. Scalpels. They will rewire the patterns that kept you stuck. Your mind is listening. Right now, will you repeat the same tired stories? Or will you speak like someone who deserves greatness? You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a victim of the weak internal dialogue you refuse to kill. Rewire or be wired. Rule 1. Radical Sufficiency. You have been carrying a lie for so long that it has started to feel like your skin. The insidious whisper that you are a project that is never quite finished. A product that needs one more feature to be viable. It tells you that you need to be more before you are even allowed to breathe. That lie has stolen years. It ends now. When you wake up and say, "I am enough," you are not settling for mediocrity. You are performing a radical act of psychological secession. You are declaring that your value is not a variable managed by the stock market of public opinion. Your worth is not a fluctuating currency. Epictetus, born in chains, understood this. He knew that external conditions have zero authority over internal worth. He taught that your faculty of choice is already whole. He said he is a wise man who does not grieve for what he lacks, but rejoices in what he has. He didn't mean stop striving. He meant stop begging. You already possess the only gold that matters, the internal fortress of your character. You just forgot how to find the key. Your value is a fixed constant, not a fluctuating currency. Stop asking a broken world to appraise a soul it is not qualified to understand. Look at the world. It is a machine designed to manufacture insufficiency. Every advertisement is a calculated psychological assault. Every social media scroll is a curated trap. You have been running on a treadmill with no finish line, chasing a ghost called someday. The game is rigged. You were never meant to arrive. Because if you realized you were already there, the machine would stop making money. Off your insecurity. Step off. When you embrace radical sufficiency, you stop performing. You stop twisting your soul into grotesque shapes to fit into boxes. You start making decisions based on virtue, not on applause. If someone doubts you, let them. Their opinion is just noise. Your enoughness is not up for debate. It is a biological fact. It is a stoic law. You are currently a psychological beggar, wandering through life with your hand out, asking people as broken as you are to tell you that you matter. I am whole. I am enough. Rule 2. The Temporal Anchor. Yesterday is a ghost that no longer has hands to touch you. Yet, you let it strangle your potential every single morning. Tomorrow is a promissory note that the universe is under no obligation to honor. When you wake up and say, "Today matters most," you are performing a brutal, necessary extraction of your soul. You are escaping the 2 graveyards, where most people go to die before they are even buried. The Stoics were obsessed with the brevity of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." This was an order from the ruler of the world. He knew that every microsecond you spend reliving a betrayal or rehearsing a conversation for next week is a second you are functionally dead. You are committing a crime against your own existence by not being where your feet are. You are ghostwriting a past you cannot change and rehearsing a future you cannot predict. Meanwhile, the masterpiece of today remains a blank canvas because you are too cowardly to hold the brush. Think about the weight you punish yourself for choices made by a version of you that no longer exists. You project into next month, building disaster scenarios. This is not planning. This is sabotage. It is a form of supreme arrogance to think you can solve tomorrow's problems with today's limited light. Drop the anchor. Today matters most. Not the month. Not the year. Just the next 16 hours. What is the single most virtuous thing you can do right now? The future is just a series of nows that haven't arrived yet. Master this now, and the future will be forced to bow to your discipline. Seneca knew that someday is the most dangerous word in the human language. It is a velvet-lined coffin. He wrote, "Count each separate day as a separate life." Life is not something that starts later. It is what is disappearing while you are making other plans. You are committing slow-motion suicide by drowning in the rot of yesterday and the cowardice of waiting for a better time that will never arrive. The anchor is dropped. Today is all you have. Strike now. Rule 3. The surrender of the fool. Your hands are tired from gripping so tightly. Your mind is exhausted from trying to orchestrate outcomes you were never meant to manage. You have been fighting a war against reality itself, trying to force the universe to follow a script that only your ego can see. The cost of this delusion is your peace, your presence, and the very sanity in your soul. When you wake up and declare, "I release control," you are not surrendering to chaos. You are surrendering to the truth. You are finally acknowledging that you are a participant in life, not its dictator. The Stoic master Epictetus taught that there are things within our power and things outside of it. Within your power are your opinion, your intention, your desire, and your aversion. Outside your power is everything else. Other people's thoughts, the past, and the ultimate outcome of your efforts. He called the person who tries to control the uncontrollable a fool, because they stake their happiness on a world that does not belong to them. You are setting your own soul on fire just to keep an outcome warm that was never yours to possess. Stop trying to be the god of a kingdom you do not rule. Think about the staggering amount of energy you waste. You obsess over what your boss thinks. You manipulate your behavior. So people like you. You worry about the timeline of your success, screaming at the clock because life isn't moving at your insecure pace. This is not caring. This is an arrogant, ego-driven delusion. The more you try to micromanage the world, the more the world manages you. You become a slave to external events, forever anxious, because your joy depends on variables you cannot influence. The surrender of the fool is the highest form of intelligence. You do your absolute best, but you recognize that the result still belongs to the gods. When you release control, you don't stop working. You stop suffering. You become untouchable, because you have no skin in the game regarding things you cannot change. Your only job is to manage the internal fortress. Everything outside the gates is just weather. Let it rain. Let it thunder. The king remains seated on his throne. You are exhausted, not because life is hard, but because you are arrogant enough to think you can play God with the universe's timing, while your own house is in ruins. Let it go. The world does not belong to you. Now that you have dropped the weight of the world, it is time to embrace the friction. We move toward the forge of voluntary discomfort. Rule 4. Voluntary discomfort. Pain is not your enemy. Discomfort is not a biological error or a sign that something has gone wrong with your life. On the contrary, the moment you feel stretched beyond what feels safe, the moment your pulse quickens and your skin burns from the effort, that is not the universe punishing you. That is growth knocking on your door with a heavy hand. Most people spend their entire existence running from discomfort like it's a plague. They stay in dead-end jobs because the thought of leaving is hard. They avoid honest conversations because confrontation is scary. They have convinced themselves that comfort equals happiness. But in reality, comfort is a velvet-lined coffin where potential goes to roti in silence. The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate. This is not just a passive acceptance of challenge. It is the radical embrace of difficulty as the only necessary fuel for greatness. Seneca, a man who knew both immense wealth and the bitterness of exile, wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." He understood a fundamental law of nature. We do not grow in the silence of safety. We grow only in the friction between who we are today and the lethal version of who we must become tomorrow. You are a sword that is only sharpened by the stone. Stop complaining about the very friction that is making you lethal. When you wake up and declare, "Growth lives here," you are fundamentally rewiring your relationship with psychological and physical pain. That crushing anxiety you feel before trying something new, that is not a signal of weakness. It is your old, mediocre self making room for the new, sovereign self. That burning frustration when progress feels slow, that is depth and character. Being hammered into your soul by the gods, you must train your brain to see challenge as the only reliable signal of progress. If your life is easy, if you are not uncomfortable, then you are not ascending. You are simply repeating a life you have already outgrown, drifting toward an unremarkable end. Your pathetic obsession with being comfortable is the very cage that keeps you small, weak, and easily replaced by the world. Seek the friction, grow, or rot. Now that you have embraced the fire of growth, we arrive at the peak of Stoic power, the absolute sovereignty over your own response to the chaos of existence. Rule 5. Ultimate sovereignty. Between every event that happens to you and your reaction to it, there is a space. In that invisible, silent space lies your entire freedom, your dignity, and your worth. Most people live their entire lives without ever discovering this space exists. They are reactive animals, triggered by every external spark. They bark back when barked at. They collapse when hurt. And they lose their minds the moment things fail to go according to their plan. They have surrendered their internal sovereignty to a world that does not care about them. But the Stoic knows a secret. While you cannot control the stimulus, you have absolute, godlike authority over the response. This is the peak of human power. Think about the chains you voluntarily wear. When someone cuts you off in traffic, and you fume for an hour, you have handed them the keys to your soul. When a coworker makes a snide remark, and you lose focus, you have admitted they are your master. You are living as a puppet, dancing to the rhythm of external events, outside your control. This is not a life. It is a series of pathetic reflexes. The psychologist Viktor Frankl proved this logic in the death camps. He realized that while the captors could take everything, they could never touch his ability to choose his own attitude. If a man, in the shadow of a gas chamber, can remain the master of his soul, what is your excuse for losing your temper over a missed deadline? You are not a victim of your environment. You are a victim of your own undisciplined mind. The world can break your bones and steal your wealth, but it cannot touch your mind unless you hand it the keys. Reclaim your throne and stop being a puppet to circumstances. To reclaim your sovereignty, you must learn to expand that space between stimulus and response. When the world strikes, you pause, you breathe, you decide, consciously and coldly, what the most honorable response is. You choose dignity over anger. You choose logic over panic. You are no longer a leaf blown by the wind. You are the mountain that the gale breaks against. Every time you choose your response, you are strengthening the walls of your internal fortress. You are declaring that your peace is not for sale. Let it rain. Let it thunder. Let the world burn. The king remains seated on his throne, unbothered and unmovable. You are a coward if you blame your anger on another person, because you are admitting that they have more control over your soul than you do. Command yourself or be commanded by chaos. Now that you have reclaimed your internal kingdom, we reach the final stage, the integration of these truths into a life of relentless action. Information without transformation is just mental masturbation. You have listened to these rules. You have felt the friction of truth, and you have glimpsed the sovereign power that lies within your own mind. But knowledge alone is a ghost. The universe does not reward what you know. It rewards what you endure, and more importantly, what you execute. You can return to your life of hollow comfort, or you can step into the forge and become something unbreakable. The choice has always been yours, but the window of opportunity is closing. Excellence is not a grand act, but a relentless habit. Stop waiting for inspiration and start building your discipline. The world is waiting to break you. It is watching to see if you will fold like a coward or stand like a mountain. Do not betray the person you could become for the person you are comfortable being. Every second you hesitate is a betrayal of your potential. If you finish this video and change nothing, you have not just wasted your time. You have insulted the very core of your existence. Awaken the sovereign within. If you are finished with excuses and ready to master your impulses, comment, "I am sovereign," below. Discipline begins with the first word. Now, turn off this screen and go to work.